What's up, everybody? Yes, I'm back. I got a special one for us today. It is episode 103, Fumble Podcast. All right. I'm decked out in Retail.Therapy.Clinic gear. I got the lid. I got the pullover. I learned about anthracite from the man of the hour today. He's the man behind it all. If you guys listened to episode 101 or watched it, preferably, you would have seen that I was rocking a anthracite t-shirt with a very similar logo to this. All Iran focused gear. And the man behind it is our guest today. All right. And I want to, without further ado, bring him on here. He goes by Mo Namazi. Welcome to Fumble Podcast, my man.
Thank you, Pej. Really happy to be here, brother.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you, man. Yeah, I love the background you got there. Are these logos? I mean, I know I'm recognizing a few of them. I know that is that the Paycon on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's over here. Yeah. We got the under my armpit here. We got the Nahmidi, which is the Batman one. A lot of people, it's a pretty popular one.
Right. Yeah.
Some newer designs I thought I'd throw up here for people. We got our little Arasagi here on the side. He's enjoying himself a nice little brew. And representing.
What's the three?
So that's actually 021. It's basically the.
Oh, okay.
You'll see a lot of Tehran rappers. Yeah, they'll do this 2-1, and that's what that is. So a bit of a shout out to Tehran. We've got a bit of a Shirazi shirt here for our.
Hey, I love it, man. I love it. This is cool. Yeah, and
trying to keep it relevant, right?
I love that. No, you're more than relevant, brother. you're staying on top of it. So guys, little update, and Mo, feel free to chime in on this because it's our motherland. And what's some of the latest news that's happening now? By the time this episode comes out, there'll probably be even more, hopefully, good news that comes out of Iran as far as this revolution. The revolution hasn't ended, despite what Western media wants us to believe. It is not. It has gone stronger and stronger in these last 6 months. People are still in the streets. There's nationwide strikes as of today, which is the 22nd of April. Again, this episode comes out later, but it's been nationwide strikes. There's videos of it on my story. Follow me, by the way, Pej the Maniac, on all my socials. On Instagram, I posted it on my story. There's also a new video that's out. Some are disputing the validity of it. But I feel like this shit is real. I don't know if you saw it. It was the Khamenei speech, right?
Yeah, I actually shared that as well, and I've received comments from both sides. Some people, like you're about to say, I think they're saying it's a setup, trying to show that they'll allow dissent. I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that. They've done it often. I don't think that's what this is, though, right?
No.
Just the fact that you see Khamenei losing his shit a little bit, and kind of raising his voice. Yeah. He's not that good of an actor, really. And it leads me to believe that this is probably real. And if they wanted to show that a little bit of attrition, they'd be doing that with the people, not necessarily with them. So I don't know. I'm going to vote for the. I think this is legit.
99.9% of me says it's legit. Yeah. The 0.1 that I feel maybe it's not is the fact that this video is pretty professional. Like, this video is like taken, it almost seems like there's like a legitimate camera crew in there and they're catching the response. It's not like a security camera, right? It's like the camera angles it's as if like it was meant to be shared. Now, if we know this, if Khamenei doesn't want his crimes to be leaked out, he's very good at cutting everything out and not letting it come out. And that's part of the reason right now a lot of people in the West are under the false assumption that this revolution is dying down because videos aren't coming out as rapidly as they used to. So, and that's again because Khamenei and his mob are cutting out the internet, cutting cellular data, their cellular services. They'll go to the lowest of lowest means to keep things inside the border. But yeah, I want to say it's real. Maybe security was compromised and they got the video. I want to believe that. But I just love seeing his fucking face just lose it because he realizes it's time. It's time for you to go, bro. Anyway, but Iran is, and on the more sad stuff is, as you guys may have already heard, there's the poisonings are still happening. They're spreading these gases, this IRGC terrorists, and they're blaming it on the West, which is asinine to me. It's hilarious now, sadly, because they still think that narrative is believable. So keep amplifying it, guys. My obviously the diaspora, we're doing this, but I have a lot of non-Iranian followers on this podcast, and you guys have been seeing that I've been dedicating a lot of my episodes to this because I would feel empty if I wasn't. Right. Even my non-Iranian guests that have come on, I have, be Iran's voice or IRGC terrorist or, end Islamic Republic. Something to that degree is always a hashtag on my pages, and Woman Life Freedom is always on the corner. You guys see it. Zan Zindagi Azadi is sitting on Mo's background as well. That's right. That's what it's all about, man. They started it. They're going to finish it. People inside of Iran are getting closer and closer. They're breaking their economic back again with the nationwide strikes. I'm so proud of these guys, man. They're showing what bravery really is. It's like awe-inspiring because what's my excuse, right? Sitting here in a free country, right? And by the way, Iranians are spread far. Well, we're everywhere, right? Mo's coming from Canada. I'm from what part of Canada are you at again?
So originally from Vancouver, but currently in Montreal. So
gotcha.
To the East Coast, yeah.
All right, we'll have French subtitles then. Yeah. No, I don't know any French, so that would be all lies. But that's dope, man. Yeah, Iranians are spread all around the world right now, and that is worse for the Islamic Republic because now we're spreading their lies and sharing the truth with the world. Okay, moving on gracefully. Let's talk about you a little bit, man. You were born in British Columbia.
Yeah.
How was that? Let's start there. How was it growing up in Canada, being born there to Persian parents? And
yeah, you know what? It was an interesting time, right? So it's kind of like in Iran, they refer to people that were born in the couple years that I was as children of the revolution, because we were kind of born right when this stuff was going on. And that definitely permeated to the West and in Canada. And Vancouver at the time, a lot of people think of Vancouver right now as this world-class city, and it is, and it's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. When I was born there, about 200,000 people. Like, it was a small town. Like, on my Iranian birth certificate, it literally said, like, they took the time to write down Dehestan Vancouver, like the village of Vancouver is what even they called it back then. When I got my birth certificate in Iran. But it was, there was some racism that you had to contend with. There was a lot of the shame that kind of came with wanting to really publicly say that, I'm Iranian. It was either Mazda Irani does a great, I'm Persian, right?
Yeah.
Or you kind of go with I'm Turkish, I'm Greek, I'm whatever. It really depends on your beard growth and your melatonin level at the time. But, we would try to get away with all of that. And then, now it's very different, right? We're so proud of where we're coming from. And it took a while to get there, but yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm right there with you now as far as the being subjected to the prejudice and racism and all that. Yeah. It didn't help that I was wearing my mom's boots in school. So that
never does, right? I don't understand that.
We all, my sister, my mom, and I at one point in me growing up, we all had the same shoe size. So we saved money by wearing the purple and black and pink boots. It worked. It was worth getting beat up. It's fine. We saved money. Yeah. Man, have you been to Iran?
I have. I visited Iran during a really crazy time, actually. So I was there for Khatami's last year and Ahmadinejad's first 2 years. And so I was for about 3 years. It was it was kind of a bit of a Gilligan's Island story. I was going on a 2-month tour just to go visit my country. And then I ended up staying a little bit longer. Then I ended up being declared a soldier, and I had to stay and do military service, but I didn't, obviously. It took me a couple years to kind of get out of doing that. And then during that time, I was teaching at a university there, teaching English, of course, the only thing I could teach at the time.
Yeah.
I opened up a language institute while I was there. That was super cool because I worked with only expats. So people from, I had teachers from New Zealand and England and the States, a couple of people from Canada. Yeah, it was a lot.
Man. So all in all, how long were you there?
About 3 years, just under 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
I was in my early 20s, right?
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s. And it was crazy. It was the first time I ever paid a bribe. It was the first time I ever, a lot of that stuff that
dude,
I've seen here before, obviously. And going there there was a lot of adventure. There was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of fun because Iran is just an amazing place full of people. But yeah, it was an adventure and a half, my friend.
Man, listen, you got to stay there for that extended period of time. And did you go with family or you went by yourself?
I went with my dad. He kind of took come get to know your people type trip.
That's great.
Have you ever been back to Iran? Or
I was born there, actually. I was born there. I was born in Iran, Tehran area, Karaj, Tehran area. And then we moved to Baluchistan when I was really young. So we went to we lived in Saravan, which was one of the towns. And up until I think I was like 4 or 5, we were there. My dad had a business. They were Baha'is, so they got the worst, a lot of short end of the stick there. My mom did time before I was born for being a Baha'i, and then I was born, and then we moved to Saravan. My dad has started a business. He started his own business with an appliance store. And, knock on wood, he did well. He was doing pretty well there, but they closed the store down, right? For different bullshit reasons, and that's a common practice by the government to do that for people who don't know.
And much worse now, right? Like much now, so much worse since the revolution, but it's always Baha'is in Iran have always really kind of been treated, badly. Right. Like I remember even my father telling me stories. He had a factory or a couple factories in Iran. This is back in the 60s and early 70s. And one of his best friends was Baha'i and couldn't find a job for the life of him. And he always had to kind of bring him in on everything and vouch for him and all that sort of stuff. And but yeah, what an amazing community. I was able to go to school with back in Vancouver with the sons of Hossein Amanat. And I'm not sure if you know who that is, but he was an architectural student back in the 70s in Iran.
Okay. Wow.
And for the 2,500 year celebration that the Shah was having, one of the things he did is he had a contest for these architecture students.
Right. I heard about this. Yeah.
A square. And that's Maidun Azadi or Shahyad Square.
Yeah.
Originally called. And so Mr. Amanat, whose kids I went to school with, I got to meet him, and
that's
what
cool.
an amazing man and what an amazing contribution to our identity. And it's so sad that, he's marginalized and has never been able to go back. And it's devastating.
But yeah, listen, it's poor attempts by this regime to make money from division. It failed, and it's failing fast because now everyone is more united than ever, in my estimation. And there's still a few brainwashed that are left, to unwash their brains and understand that when we started to realize we're human beings first before anything else, let's put religion aside. We're all human beings. Okay, now what? Then you realize it's all silly. It's what are we really saying here? But my way is this way and that way. It's come on. It's just
it's tribalism, right? It's exactly what it is. It's this idea of my tribe is better than your tribe. And that can translate into your football team. It can translate into your hockey team up here, or it could be, religion and culture. Right. And this imaginary line in the dirt makes, everything on this side of the line makes me better than what's on the other side of that line.
I think
get beyond that.
Exactly. And what helped me humble myself is that all of my teams are horrible. So I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. Your team's better, and I have nothing to back it with. My team doesn't even have a damn name. It was the Washington football team, and then something else, and now they're the Commanders, which is horrible. And then if we talk basketball, it's the Chicago Bulls, and we haven't seen the light of success since '98. And so it's been rough, but it taught me to be grounded and understand.
So being from Vancouver, my team was the Canucks, and that English institute that I started in Tehran, like right in Van Eyck Square, was called Canuck Academy. Like that's how much of a hardcore fan I was, and they've been breaking my heart since.
Jeez, dude, I know.
As Iranians in the diaspora, if it wasn't for our sport teams, I think we'd still have that sense of. But they definitely don't help. Yeah, that's for sure.
No, it's true. It's true. Oh my God, man. But that's a very cool experience. So to answer your question, because I'm so good at it, I haven't been back to Iran since I left, and that would make it almost 30 years. I left Iran at, I think it was late '94, and we couldn't. To really quickly button up the situation with Baha'is, for people who don't know, Baha'is in Iran are treated the same way as the Jews were in Nazi Germany. And it was actually a Holocaust commemoration recently. So, which Reza Pahlavi has been in Israel for almost a week. I don't know if he's back yet now, but so his attempt right now is to make peace between their prime minister, Israel's prime minister, and the people of Iran, and trying to clarify that the Iranian people love the Israeli people and vice versa, because the Woman Life Freedom marches are happening in Israel as well. Again, for people who are not caught up. But yes, so that's why my parents, after my dad's shop was closed for the third time, he decided that we have to leave, and he never wanted to leave Iran. So we left, and we had to actually get smuggled out. We got into Pakistan for 7 months, and that's a good number, 7 months, because most people were stuck there for 3 years until they got their visas granted to them. And then, the embassy opened up to go to the US. And so we took it, and we came, and we lived in Maryland for the first 10 years. And I've been in Sacramento since. But yeah, it's, my parents, my sister and her family, they've all gone back a couple times. I, for some reason, different reasons, I just haven't gone back. But I feel like now it's gone to the point where I feel like, it was meant to be for me to go back once it's free, And if I go back now, I'd probably be hung. But so it's
you wouldn't make it far past the airport. Then.
Yeah, I know. If they look at one,
so those late nights when I'm sitting there watching these videos on Iran, I'm like, you know what? That's it. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling my travel agent. I'm lying. I'm going to go on Expedia. No, but I'm going to go to Iran. I'm going to go right in the front, and then I go. You're not going to make it past customs. What are you talking about? That's it's.
They have an eye on all of us, all of the diaspora. Right? Yeah, they know everyone who's involved in amplifying the real Iranian people inside of Iran. We're amplifying their voices. Mo has been doing it. I mean, and we're going to get into this as a segue, because that I want to know more about this, and I'm going to use your words. What the heck is a retail therapy clinic, and why did you start it?
No, that's a question we sometimes get, and really the idea, the concept, Pej, is we all know about retail therapy, right? It feels good to go and blow money on that you don't have on something that you don't need, and it's quite therapeutic. But how do we take that and kind of extend it throughout the entire process, right? So what we did is we said we're going to, and many of our earlier designs were exactly that. When before the revolution, we could actually work directly with Iran competently. It was, how do we give a voice to the voiceless? So we would graphic artists that were underrepresented or marginalized in their own country. For example, in Iran, we had we have a gay graphic artist who absolutely couldn't express himself the way that he wanted to back home. So we get him to create art for us that we would pay him a good wage for, that he can actually, buy groceries for his family. And then we would then use that here to, express what he couldn't express back home. So that's kind of where the design comes from. And then the processes is, we try to use materials that are ethically sourced, sustainable, and then processes that are ours that are the same. So, no toxic dyes, all that sort of thing. We then ship out directly from our workshops so that there isn't a lot of carbon footprint to get the stuff out. And then finally, we like to give back, and that can either be in the materials that we use, and it can also be in profits and proceeds that we give to nonprofit organizations. So, partial proceeds from all of our lines go to different causes that are relevant to that line, except for the Zanzedigi line, Zanzedigi Azadi line, which is 100% going to two organizations that I felt early on were doing some really, really good work. And then, as I said, with the materials, like we have phone cases that once you're done using them, just throw them in the compost and they're gone in 3 months. So, like that, it kind of brings that whole feel good vibe full circle throughout the entire process.
Yeah, you've thought about all the angles on this, which is great, and the proceeds and all of that. I need to talk to you soon about, because I'm trying to put together a comedy show in LA with the proceeds of it going directly to some sort of charity that's actually verified that can get to the people of Iran. So sort of how you did with this person in Iran that's helping you with the design. I want to make something. Do you still work with him now, or is it harder now that
It's harder now because we can't really get assets in and out because of the broadband issues. And then, it needs to, and so that's a bit of an issue. So, we do some low tech stuff. I've been giving them some work with, so like very early on in the revolution, we realized that, the key here that, the key thing that we could do in the diaspora was spread the word. One of the first things that I wanted to do was create a profile picture frame for Meta, for Instagram, and for Facebook. You used to be able to upload these yourself, like it was user created. Stopped doing that at COVID because I guess people were putting some crazy stuff out there and it was spreading.
Oh, wow.
So then you have to actually ask them to add it. I was lobbying for that for a while, didn't work. So then what I decided to do is say, you know what, we'll do it. And so starts putting the word out there that if you want I support the people of Iran profile frame, just send us a photo, we'll do it for you. So that work, because it's very low bandwidth, I've been kind of getting them to do to keep them, keep them working. The ones that are in Iran, and it's been really successful. We've made it obviously available for people to just download and use. For those that have sent it to us, we've been doing it for them. I think we've done over 1,000 so far, and a lot of them that we've received recently have been from Iran, which is so cool, right? That sense that you're actually, people in Iran are seeing what you're doing and they're appreciating and they want to share with the same voice, and so that was humbling and absolutely.
That's incredible. That's really cool because sometimes if I'm being honest, sometimes I feel like there's like two versions of this Iran revolution, both outside and inside. I feel like sometimes when I get messages from people inside of Iran, I almost feel like, oh shit, they actually noticed. It's like I feel like, whoa, like we're fighting for them despite the fact like they don't even know we're doing that. That's how I feel. Like my first instinct, but then I push past that. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there's the fact that they're sending videos out is confirmation that they know we're sharing their voice, right? Yeah. But it's easy to think like, okay, they're kind of like, and they are in a way trapped inside of this country with this regime. So it's almost like, are they hearing us or not? So yeah, what you're saying is it's a great feeling of affirmation, but also like motivation. Like, all right, let's got to do more. And how many years is the Retail.Therapy.Clinic has been going on now?
It's been only 2 years. We were working for a little over a year before all this stuff started. It's been an interesting and exciting ride so far.
That's awesome, man. And wish you nothing but abundance and success. Did you love clothing, like doing retail from young, or what?
Yeah.
Not that you're not young now. I'm just saying.
I'm an old man. What are you talking about? You know what? Yeah, to a degree, absolutely. For me, it was more the creative aspect of it, and it was the whole, how do I build a legacy, right? And it had more to do with that. So we kind of started with the concept, and kind of grew from there. My background, I work in technology, and marketing.
Yeah.
Very, very dry stuff. Although I work for a pretty cool gaming studio, and so we make some cool games, and that's all fine. But it's not a way that I can kind of express myself the way that I want to. And this has been it. I felt that there was a bit of a lack in the market for those of us that are here, and we want to have that connection, but we want it to be relevant too. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it was born from.
I love it.
And Houston and good, right?
It takes, that's my weakness, is on the marketing and the business side. So I'm just going to lean on you for a lot of advice.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, man. Cause I'm working on my own brand, Pej the Maniac brand and all that. So, because it's all about me. Right. So, but no, that's cool. I love that. And you did some comedy too, right?
I did that for about a year. So my parents, this was back when I was in university. My parents took a trip to Iran together.
Yeah.
And they were there for about a year, and I was like, fantastic. Cause I'm from the generation where, there's really only 3 careers.
Yeah.
You're an absolute abject failure, right? You're not getting a lot of support. And so while they were away, this mouse did play. So I kind of tore across Canada, never went down to the States. It was a lot of, back then it was Yuck Yuck's Comedy Club, and a lot of Army and Navy locations and lodges and things like that. But it was fantastic. And I never really kind of went back to it, mainly because if I used anything similar to the material I used back then, I'd probably be canceled in 5 minutes. Like, that would be it for me. This was the 90s, right? And so things were very, very different.
Yeah, it was.
Whoa, we watch it now and we cringe, right? It's like, what were they thinking back then?
Isn't that funny how that happens? Like how our minds, like as a society, like we kind of follow waves together, right? We have independent minds, but we also have dependent minds. It's interesting thing. Like, I mean, and if you go against the grain, you get canceled, like you said, or you're cornered. It literally can affect your career. I mean, many people way more successful than myself are feeling this, right? And I'm not saying it's not warranted. Some of it is warranted. I'm just saying it's interesting how the society as a world, we go through these acceptable norms. So
and you hope that we're evolving, right? You hope that we're heading into the right direction. I would have to say that for most of it, I'm good. Like, I'm good with where we're heading with a lot of stuff. Sometimes it can be a little bit extreme, and then there's extreme cases and everything, right? Like, those shouldn't be how you judge it. But I hope we're moving in the right direction. I really.
I think the mind is evolving as a whole, in the human mind. And an unpopular opinion, not so unpopular maybe as much now, but I feel that the human mind has evolved past the need for religion. Mm-hmm. And that is that's a hot topic. And I'm always open to discussing it with the most devout religious people, because I have nothing but respect for anybody that practices their religion. I'm not trying to change people. That's not at all my point. My point is, I'm just saying, I'm seeing with the younger generation, younger than myself. So, millennials down, I feel like, especially the Gen Z, they don't care what religion you are. They don't care what color you are. And I know this because I have 2 nieces that are Gen Z, and they have friends from all shapes and sizes and colors and all religious backgrounds. But it doesn't even get there. It's just about that bond and that purity in their connections. So, it's like, and I see that with my nieces, and I teach kids because, as a music teacher, I teach kids all the time, and I see that they're like, I bring up something about religion and they're like, why does that matter? Like, it's just like, and then I'm like, wow, they don't even think about that anymore, right? So I don't know how you feel about that, but you can.
I agree. No, man, I agree with you 100%. So my my major in university. So again, I'm coming all over the place. Like I'm the guy who plays video games, and I just go out like strafing fire, and I'm all over the place, right? So my major in university was religious and classical studies.
Oh wow!
Right? And then I went into technology and marketing. But the whole reason I went into that was because it's basically comparative religion is what you would kind of call it these days. And the idea is to basically the study of religion, not religious study. Right. So I always call it like being in the Wizard of Oz and looking behind the curtain and seeing the wizard for what he is. You know, when you start looking at religion as a discipline and with the eyes of an archaeologist and all that sort of thing, you actually tend to appreciate it more. I find that this idea that this is an untouchable, sanctified, piece of literature that is absolutely perfect in every way diminishes it a little bit. It's not. We've got some great thinkers over time who had a lot to contribute. And this hang-up, again, it's the tribalism that I was talking about.
Right.
And if we go with that hang-up of what's mine, what's yours, let's have that division, we lose out. It's like going to a library and saying, I'm only going to read books off of this one shelf, right? You're missing out on so much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I always try to, see it as, that there's so much to learn out there from all of these different groups. And this is where you have to divide between religion and faith and belief, right? Faith and belief is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Religion is corrupted and corruptible. And that's, it's sad. And that's coming from someone who spent his teens fundraising for, I go by Mo right now. My parents, in their infinite wisdom, after the revolution in Iran, decided to name me Muhammad. Mm-hmm. And I carried that my entire life with me because I just thought it was disrespectful to change my name, but I just go by Mo.
Right. I wasn't going to say it's Mohsen, right? It was
exactly. Right? Yeah. It's funny. I was speaking with I was over at a Jewish coworker's house for Shabbat dinner, and then he had family over rather, and they asked me, they're like, "Oh, Mo, is that for Moshe?" I'm like, "No, it's."
Yes, actually. It is.
But I know. Anyways, in my teens, I was fundraising to build mosques in and then I go through this awakening in university where, like I said, I look behind the curtain. All this while I thought this wizard was the answer, and then I look, oh my God, it's just a sick old man, fooling me. I need to really understand what this is and where that true power lies, and it's in myself. It's in my fellow man, not in something that was written 2,000 years ago that I'm going to force myself to believe is absolute truth no matter what.
Wow, dude. You hit it perfectly because I had a similar journey, right? Different religion, Baha'i faith, of course. Again, the basics, I think the fundamentals of a lot of these religions sync up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about be good to others, right? All the positives about being a good human being, I have nothing against that. I think I have nothing against religion actually at all. What you're saying, it seems, and what I'm saying is that there's having faith and being spiritual, it trumps it. It trumps being religious, because religious is stationary, in my opinion. Because religion, it can become blinding because you're looking at one source, like you said, reading books from one shelf in a library. It's very true. It creates tunnel vision, tribalism, and it tries to create you to be different from that book over there or that religion over there. But the truth is, it's like, this book is 2,000 years old. That book is 5,000 years old. This book, let's use Baha'i faith, their books are like almost 200 years old. So relatively speaking, it's supposed to be much more modern, but there's many questions I have about that myself, right? So, and I'm not poking at any religion, right? I'm just saying anything. Listen, we just said 90s till now, it's a whole different world. right? And it's been not even like 30 years, let's say. So imagine 200 or 1,000. Like if we're just being realistic, you realize, wait a minute, we're evolving past what we're believing, right? It's like, and that's where I came up with that theory that, we're evolving past the need for at least this version of religion that a lot of people have been following, especially our parents' generation, right? Our parents' generation, and because they came here to survive, right? As survival, when you're surviving in a country that's ran by dictators, it's easy to have a religion to lean on because it's safe, and you make a lot of decisions from fear and legitimate fear because your life is on the line, So
and it's that fear, right? It's that fear that drives all of it. Like I remember being in I think it was an anthropology class.
Yeah.
It was one of the reasons why I decided to kind of take that path and study what I was studying. And the professor comes out and goes, what's the world's oldest religion? And, someone's like Judaism. No. Hinduism. No. What do you guys think? Oldest religion was when two cavemen decided to go out hunting, and they had to sleep outside of the cave that night. And they were scared. They could hear stuff in the forest, and they look up at the sky, and what they see is a bunch of eyes looking down at them. And those eyes can either be the eyes of a tiger, you see how it reflects light, and, is it something dangerous, or is it your ancestors? And it became their ancestors. And it was that comfort that it gave them. It kind of subsided that fear of what they were going through and made them feel better about themselves and the situation they were in. So I totally see that. And
that is a very interesting story. I hadn't heard that, but that's really cool. So basically, it's perspective, is what we're saying. Exactly. It's just perspective, because man, that's super. That's important. And it's important to have these discussions because that's the fact that, like, you and I have never met in person. You had your own life, right? Yeah, we're both from Iranian descent, but I've had these top conversations with the whitest of the whites and the darkest skins of the darkest skin. And that's the point. We all have similar views, at least our generation, right? It's like, and then the whole idea of walls and division, all that just kind of dissipates away because the fear is gone. Information is power. And when you have that, then you realize the fear was due to lack of that. And that's literally what's happening in Iran, because they're all educated, all the younger generations. They know how to do research. I always say the biggest mistake Khamenei did, that Olag, is that he allowed in smartphones. And now, you expose yourself, right? Because now people can Google anything, or they can search anything. They can verify anything or fact check anything. And that's what's causing this, I think, a big part of this revolution, plus the 44 years of turmoil that they put them through. But I want to carry on with my next question for you, which was, what is one of the most interesting, enjoyable aspects of the business and getting back to retail therapy?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. Honestly, I'd have to say it's the sense of community, meeting people, working with different individuals, meeting people like yourself, right? Like, and working with different micro influencers, different, musicians, all that sort of thing. It's, it's amazing, and I love working with other Iranians in the diaspora, mainly because I did go through such an isolating experience growing up, feeling as though I'm the only one who feels this way. On the outside, I'm, Mohammed, this Iranian Muslim. On the inside, I'm Johnny Canuck, and I don't even understand why people are looking at me that way. And to actually be able to talk to others that have gone through that experience or are going through that experience is amazing. And, there's this amazing jewel of a patch of land that is really what connects us all. And the culture that grew out of that and where it is and being able to share that beauty with people. It's incredible. Awesome. Basically, I'm just looking for good vibes. That's all.
Well, that's what it's got to come from, right? It's got to be from love. If you have love for something, that translates to passion. And then it builds community, and the rest just works itself out, man. I 100% feel that in my lane, which is comedy and acting and music. So I totally understand it. And yeah, I'm so, and we're lucky enough, and I'm lucky enough to have connected with you. And by the way, we got some things in the works, so keep an eye out, right? More to come from those later. And yeah, and I got to rep this dope ass clothing brand, and everyone should go. By the way, plug your channels. If you have a website, plug all of that right now so people know where to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So on TikTok and Instagram, it's just Retail.Therapy.Clinic. So kept it really easy. And then our website is the same, www.Retail.Therapy.Clinic.com. So yeah.
There we go. Awesome.
As long as you remember that silly name, it's easy to find us. Yeah.
RTC. No, that's the abbreviation is easy, and then that helps you remember it, even though it's, a page long, it's okay. I'm just giving you shit. No, it's nice. And I agree, by the way, this is a huge callback. In the beginning, you said we shop for therapy, and you're right. And that's why I'm broke. So no, it's good. I'm not that bougie of a Persian. Yeah, that's why I'm in Sacramento. But yeah. Speaking of which, this is a funny segue. Any exciting collabs coming up soon?
Yeah, there's a bunch. So you mentioned we're going to be working together with a few of my favorite people down in Cali and across the States in the next few days. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
Yes.
Working with a lot of cool micro influencers. I did a podcast with the Chai Guys podcast season. That was fun. Was able to sponsor that and was working with the guys there. There's another. And I don't know, would I be using the term podcaster? He does reviews, and I guess it is a podcast, and reaction videos to Persian rap, Persian music, that sort of thing. And he's quite outspoken, quite blue as well, Maury Himo, and he's absolutely hilarious. And he's been doing a lot of work in Turkey, trying to spread the word on the revolution. So that was great. Yasmin Aker, that was amazing. She did a video for us, and that was really nice. Tohi reached out to us. So, that was pretty cool, kind of being starstruck there. Tohi reached out back in December and said, "Hey man, I'm looking for some Zanzibar Zadi stuff. What can you send my way?" And so sent those out. So you should be seeing him soon, kind of dawning out as well. And then, but there's, like I said, there's a lot more coming up as well. And we also got some non-Persian artists in the mix as well. So I'm not sure,
really?
Jacopo. There are a couple other artists that are based out of the Europe as well that we're going to be working with soon, mostly on our Come As You Are collection, which is our LGBTQ collection and our diversity line. But they're also going to be promoting a lot of the Zanzibar Zadi stuff to a wider non-Persian market, which I think is going to be really cool.
That's amazing. Beautiful, man. I love that you're hitting all of these different demographics and you're inclusive, all inclusive, which is super cool. And but it all stems from your love and passion for it, man. I'm telling you that's your fuel. Iranians, we know about fuel. Speaking of Zanzibar Zadi, what made you decide to go all in on this revolution?
Yeah, it was.
We kind of talked about it, but
Yeah, we did. It was, honestly, and I think you said it best, Pej, there's a sense of responsibility, I think, that we have living here and kind of having that freedom to speak, 90% of what we wish to speak. And let's use that for good. When I saw, I went over some old posts that I put up, and it's funny. I think it was the day I learned about what happened to Mahsa Amini, and literally the only thing I could write, I was so devastated about what was going on. All I wrote was "Enough is enough," right? Enough is enough, because in her I saw my students in Iran. In her I saw, the kids that I had met there at the university that I had to kind of go to bat for on numerous occasions for things like keeping our classroom door closed, right? They wouldn't let us do that. Why? Because there were boys and girls in the class.
Oh, wow.
So what's going to happen as soon as you close the door, right? What's going on in that jackass's head?
Yeah.
Um, and so, that kind of, that was there. And then when I saw that we didn't have the support, when I saw what Meta wasn't doing, when I saw what wasn't on the news, it was just, you know what? That's it. Nobody's going to do this for us. We've been waiting 44 years for a white knight to come and liberate, our people. That's not going to happen. Some of us ran away. Some of us were born in the diaspora. Some of us, had to, otherwise we'd be dead. But now's the time for us to kind of stand up and go, look, this is it. And so that was when I realized, it's either Iran's going to be free or that chapter of my life is closed, right? And so we need to go all in. And once you do that, I think that's when you have success. It's kind of like getting rid of that safety net, we have to go all in. This fear that was bred into us by our parents, and granted, they had a good reason to fear, but that fear that's been bred into us isn't helping anybody. That's how they're ruling. They're ruling by fear. Once that goes away, and that's what the women in Iran started, and the guys have followed suit. That's what it is. It's this: what are you going to do to me? And whenever someone asks me, "Oh, this is just going to die down in 6 months," what makes you think this is different? Right. Say, the only reason this is different is because the youth have decided that dying in Iran is better than living in Iran. Yeah. And to create that situation, you're done. They are absolutely done, because people would rather die there than live there. That's the situation they've created. And so, it was hard to find out, we wanted to spread awareness. We said, look, let's come up with a line where we can do that, and then we'll contribute. But in the early days, there really wasn't anywhere to go to. And so, I found 2 nonprofits that were already existing. One was in the States, one was in Canada. The CHRI, which is the Center for Human Rights in Iran, they've been doing some really cool work for years now. Never been associated with anything to do with the Islamic Republic or any of those other lobby groups that are kind of protecting them. Mm-hmm. And they've been lobbying for the MASA Act really since day one, and they've been really instrumental in that and spreading the word. And then there's PS 752 Justice in Canada. And they did that amazing demonstration out in Berlin last year. Yeah. They've been working so hard to get justice for the families of all those individuals that were murdered, in the Ukraine flight. So we figured, look, let's go all in. Let's do whatever we can and take it from there. Previous to that, a lot of the work that we did was, like I said, organizations in our local community, but also we would, we do things like pay for surgeries in Iran, make sure that, taken care of that way. I think last year we did 17 pediatric surgeries in Iran, and then also buying the equipment for them as well. Like, there were kids that I'd see these videos and them literally like crawling on the floor in the house because they don't have wheelchairs, or they don't have powered wheelchairs, or they're broken and whatever. So that's kind of what the focus was, and it will go back to that, and we will do that as well. But right now we decided, look, this is where we need to focus a lot of energy and make sure that the situation, rising tide lifts all boats. Let's make sure that Iran improves as a nation. That's going to help everybody, and then we can go start, targeting specific areas again that need help. But yeah, that's kind of what lit the fire under this ass. But yeah.
That is a big fire, because I'm feeling it, and yeah. What other motivation do you need? Like, that the stories that come out of Iran, man, are heartbreaking. It's like, to say the least. And it's just like, and I just remember my sister going there, and she said she broke down when a 3-year-old kid was trying to sell something to make money. Like, like that shit hit me too. And I didn't even see it. They were like in their car in Iran, and then this 3-year-old runs up. It's like, do you want, I think it was like a cassette or something. And it's just like, and it wasn't even that much money he was asking for. That's it's just like, it's for them, man. And that those kids, that this was like 10 years ago. So that kid is probably changing that country right now,
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And it's heartbreaking. You're right. Like during that time that I was in Iran, I would see it. I'd see it on the streets. I'd see it everywhere. We would go to so something they do in Iran is, they do in Iran. I mean, somebody was doing it in Iran. I don't know if it's like a thing or not, but this was this guy's business. He would load the back of his car up with takeout from a particular restaurant, and then he would drive around the city and sell out of the trunk of his car.
Wow.
Like Kubide or whatever.
Yeah.
And then and you would go to like the mall or to a factory. It's kind of like food trucks that would go to, like, back in the day, that would go to like different factories and for lunch. And we were at a mall, and these kids were doing exactly that, selling. And usually it's like they'll either sell napkins or flowers or, something relatively inexpensive. Most of that money goes back to their handler. Like, they all have handlers, which is really sad.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other episode. But I told the guy, I asked the kids, I said, where are all you? Because they all live together, right? And usually there's 20 that live in a certain location. They're like down the street. I get in the guy's car. I say, let's go. Go down there, buy out the trunk, and get the food to the kid. Because they were just sitting there, like, staring at, people coming up and buying food. And you could tell these kids were hungry, and they're definitely not being taken care of where they are. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's a lot. Yeah. I've got an aunt who does the same thing too, down near you, actually. She's in San Francisco. Her and a bunch of her friends started Moms Against Poverty. Out of the Bay Area. Yeah. Work in Iran as well, supporting the kids there. And they focus specifically on children, not just in Iran, but other countries as well. And but yeah, it takes an army, man. You need more to happen, and we need the government to help and not steal from anything that trying to do there either. So
yeah, man, that is You mess with children, you're asking for change, basically. That's what it is. You're asking for it, and there's no bigger motivator than seeing a starving child, or So, and I think and please add to this, because we kind of just covered this, but something crazy stories that you have on your time in Iran. And I mean, I'm sure this was one of them.
Yeah, you know what? Let's lighten the mood a little bit. So, let's lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So like I said, paid my first bribe in Iran. That was crazy. Had to go toe to toe with the security at the university about hijab for my students before. But there was one event that kind of sticks out in my mind that was absolutely insane. And that was basically going to a rave at a military complex, and not just any military complex, a base that George W. Bush and I think it was Netanyahu again at the time, but Israel and the U.S. were talking about bombing because they suspected nuclear weapons there. But the story is that I had some students. There was a brother and sister in one of my classes, and they invited me to a party. Right? And I'm like, great, let's go check it out. And they gave me the address, and this was still really early on, right? And I'm still learning the ropes. I couldn't read or write Farsi. I spoke mom and dad Farsi, which is very different than regular Farsi. Yeah. Found out, when I got there.
What did you say? Like, that's street that I'm?
Yeah. You're not going to talk about, economics with your parents. You're not going to talk about contracts and like that sort of thing.
Gorosname, like that's the extent.
Yeah. This is good. I'm happy. That's the extent of what you learn. Anyway, so they handed me the address and they wrote it out for me. Okay, can you write it down for me? Great. And I'm like, great. I put that in my pocket and, took it out the day of. And the addresses in Iran are also pretty ridiculous, right? They don't actually give you like a proper address. I'm at Park Lane. No, it's go down the street, turn left there, turn right here, turn up. It's directions. So all they had written was the end of Boboe Highway. The end of the highway. And I did what any sane individual would do, and I basically called a cab and I went, right? Because I wanted, what's at the end of the highway? I thought maybe like a pot of gold or something. What's going on, right? I get out there. It's a military base. And before I can say anything, a soldier gets in the car to escort us in. And that moment of like, I know what's going on isn't good, but I'm already in it.
Right.
Speak up now, or maybe it's going to get better. Anyways, so we go go in and I go, well, let me just text my family and let them know, where I am in case they have to, and I kind of knew the students wouldn't be taking me hostage. They were good kids. So that was also working in my favor. But as soon as we crossed the threshold and went into the base across the gate, dead, no service, right? Nothing set up. Of course, right? It's a nuclear base that the US, Israel want to bomb. Of course, there's a dampening field. Like, why wouldn't there be?
Sure.
Anyway, at that point of no return, right? We're driving down this street, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The soldiers in the front. We're sitting in the back going, where are they taking me? It's dark everywhere. 25 minutes later, come across this clearing. I see this villa in the middle of a field of tulips. Like, it was gorgeous, right? Took 25 minutes to get there. As we get closer, I notice there's like a laser show and there's lights going off. In the background, I hear this dull, like, music, like techno going. And I'm like, what's going on? We get there, we go in, there's a changing room to like de-Islamify for the ladies if they want to take, change their clothes. We go into the party. There was a young lady speaking to the fireplace, totally tripping out. There were Texas Mickeys of alcohol across the wall. There was a DJ set up, doing his thing. It was a huge party in a military complex in the Islamic Republic of Iran. It was absolutely insane.
Wow.
Insane and surreal. But that's what Iran is, right? It's this total dichotomy.
Yeah.
People are going to do what they want to do no matter what. And you can't stop them when it comes to freedom and being able to express yourself, even if you're a colonel's kid and you end up getting the keys from mom and dad and throwing it at a military base, right? So,
dang. Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's incredible. That's a crazy story. I saw that show Tehran and they show a scene like that, I think, in that show where it's a very well thought out show because it's very accurate, right, to what's really happening. So now you just confirmed that. And man, yeah, I hope that lady didn't get burned talking to the fire. But
she was having a good time, it sounded like. So
yeah,
she's okay.
That's hilarious, man. Dude, this we can talk for hours, and we only scratched the surface of this topic, and also just learning about your experience as an Iranian Canadian. And I'd love to know when you're ever coming out to the States, coming to Cali, to connect with you in person. And maybe we do the next time you're on, which I want you on again, of course. And next time you're on, I want us to do this in person if possible. So,
absolutely.
And hopefully it's a free Iran that time, right?
Yes.
And that's what we're all fighting for. And to all the diaspora that is getting their patients tested right now with this, we got to remember, the king left Iran after the first revolution, or devolution is what I call it, it took 15 months for that to happen. Okay. And there wasn't even that much fight back with that one. So this one, just understand it's a process, right? These guys have occupied that country. They've put a chokehold on it for 44 years, but they realize it's time, and they're going to fight. It's like a wounded animal. One of my previous episodes, we talked about it. It's like when an animal's wounded, they're going to fight. They're going to scratch, they're going to claw, they're going to bite until they have no more power. And then that's literally what's happening with Khamenei and his goons. My only hope is Khamenei doesn't fucking eat dirt right before this thing is over. I want him to pay for his crimes. I want him to we need justice served. And that day's coming. It's coming soon. Guys, follow Retail.Therapy.Clinic on Instagram and TikTok. Visit their website. I almost said website because I'm Iranian. It slipped out. My 8 years in Iran is still strong. Retail.Therapy.Clinic.com, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, .com. So support it, right? It's a great cause. It's a great company. And stay tuned for some cool things coming up between Mo, myself, and a few other friends in California and outside of California. So it's going to be exciting stuff. Dude, pleasure was all mine. And I appreciate you coming on. And subscribe to Fumble Podcast, everyone. This has been episode 103. I'm Pej the Maniac. We'll catch you guys soon on episode 104. Appreciate you, Mo.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me, Pej.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure.